There are two genealogies of Jesus mentioned in the Synoptic Gospels. One is found in Luke, and one is found in Matthew. While Luke traces this heritage all the way back to the Garden of Eden, Matthew actually stops with Abraham, making the median King David. And why? Why would he do this? Well, Matthew is signifying the kingship that belongs to Jesus. Matthew also uses a Jewish custom called gematria to create a symmetrical look at Jesus' genealogy, focusing on the numerical value of King David's name. So again, King David being the median of his genealogy. Why? Because King David was the king of Israel. And it was said that through King David, Jesus would come and take his rightful place on the throne as well. And going back to this symmetrical mathematical custom that Jewish people had, it's called gematria. You can see the number 14 being the significant number. Going back to King David's name, again, King David's name, it would break down like this. D would equal 4 and V would equal 6. They would leave out the vowels. They would leave out the vowels and they would focus on the consonants. So D equaling 4, V equaling 6, which are marked 14 if you add them together. 4 plus 6 plus 4. And this marks 14 generations that would pass between Abraham and David, then from David to the deportation of the Jewish people because of the Babylonian capture, and then finally from the deportation and return home of Jeconiah to the coming of Christ, being 14 generations. Now, why would Matthew focus on this? Why would he fixate on this idea in Matthew chapter 1? Why would he look at this symmetrical take on Jesus' genealogy? Well, it's really fascinating, and I want to share these 3 points. Matthew is showing 3 major shifts in human history by looking at the Jewish heritage of Jesus. Okay, 1, the rise of the Jewish nation. 2, the decline and destruction due to not following the Lord. And then 3, the restoration of God's people through Jesus. So again, the rise of the Jewish nation all the way through King David. The decline and destruction when you saw nations rise against Israel and the Babylonian capture that took place and caused them to be exiled for 70 years. And then finally, the coming of Jesus Christ, the restoration of God's people through Jesus. Now, while this is a Jewish genealogy, it parallels with the human story. Okay, let me explain. We're Gentiles, unless you just so happen to be a Jewish person watching this, but typically we're Gentile people. So why does this apply? Because again, it shows a parallel to the human story. God chose the Jewish people to reflect his relationship with the human race. So let's go through these. So in the same way there was the rise of the Jewish nation, there was the decline and destruction from not following the Lord, and there was the restoration of God's people. So the same being towards the human story. 1, we are given life and raised to be something great. 2, we rebel and experience decline because of our sin. And then 3, we are restored by Jesus through the cross. So where are you lingering on this trifold of genealogy? Let me bring this a little closer here. Do you feel like life is great and yet you are wandering aimlessly? 2, are you in decline and waiting for the way out? Or 3, are you seeing the cross in the rear view and walking in the resurrection that Jesus offers? Those are the 3 questions. And there's one way to find out the answer. If you stood before a judge being tried for being a follower of Jesus, how would the jury vote based on the evidence of your life? We're in the Christmas season, and so thinking about Jesus' genealogy, it's something that we often skip over. But there's such complex truth in the genealogy of Jesus that Matthew wanted to show. He wanted to show these 3 elements: the rise of the human race, the decline due to sin, but the restoration that Jesus offers through the cross. In the way that Jesus came and chose to restore us through the cross, he had to first start as a baby. Now, granted, he could have come as an adult. God can do what he wants, but he chose to send his child as a baby to earth to take on flesh and to take on sin and death and to conquer it. To us, a child has been born, the Savior of the world.